right, Kyle. One of our premium matchups this week is going to be 1 p.m. Eastern time. Kirk Cousins versus Mike White. The Vikings are 3-point favorites, welcoming in the New York Jets. The Jets had a big win over the Chicago Bears. Minnesota had a little bit longer to think about this one. They played on Thanksgiving Day against the Patriots. Very good game there. Justin Jefferson just asserting his dominance in that effort. And that's why my favorite matchup of the week, hands down, has to be Sauce Gardner versus Justin Jefferson. If I was to look within the game, that's when you talk about premium corner versus premium wide receiver. It's a shame that we're only going to see these two go at it maybe once every 3-4 years maximum. This could be, like, in theory, your next Jerry Rice versus prime Deion Sanders.
Are you saying that the Vikings and Jets aren't going to meet in Super Bowl 56? Is that what I'm hearing? Or Super Bowl 57, I think it's this year.
I would anticipate not. Probably have to give Mike White a full season to work through it, because it looks like he is firmly the Jets starting quarterback. And I don't see any reason why not to question it, because Mike White, you look at his career games, his game log, just 300-yard efforts in his career, including the win this past week where he threw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. You want to know how many 300-yard games Zach Wilson has in his Jets career?
I'm going to say 1.
1. You are correct, sir. Ding, ding, ding.
I think I know which one it was, too. Was it the game against...
Well, I'll give you one of the big answers. It was in a loss. Mike White, at least when he throws for 300 yards, the Jets are usually on the right side of things. They're usually pulling down the victory. And, when I compare the two, when I compare Zach Wilson to Mike White, why not Mike White beating him out for the job? In terms of prospect, okay, Zach Wilson was Johnny-come-lately when it comes to him elevating himself over Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones in the draft process. Both come from small schools. Are we really going to split hairs between Western Michigan and BYU?
Hey, that is Western Kentucky. Don't disrespect
Western Kentucky. Sorry, whatever.
Don't disrespect the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky.
I knew it was a Western team. I took a chance. Western Kentucky it is. But either way, Mike White comes from Western Kentucky. BYU, are we talking about a huge difference in levels of competition? At least when I go back to Zach Wilson's year when BYU was dominating, and the COVID year that was, where they have to schedule games against Coastal Carolina, Washington bailed out on them. It's not like he was facing Alabama and Auburn on a weekly basis. No, he was facing the Mountain West, and we know what that is. We love the Mountain West. We love the WAC. We've seen it for years. But it's not like we're going to talk about, like, it's the best competition in college football. At least you would say with at least what Mike White was doing in college, he was setting records. That offense at Western Kentucky was one of the best in the nation. He was even getting some slight Heisman buzz.
So here's the thing. Mike White is basically better Heineke. That's the thing I can say with him. It's repackaged Heineke. That's what we're talking about with Mike White. And the thing with Zach Wilson in the draft, I will say, because as someone who feels incredibly vindicated by, like, not understanding how people could tell me Zach Wilson and Mac Jones were better than Justin Fields when I saw Justin Fields be an absolute stud all over the place at Ohio State, and people saying for 2 full years that it was going to be Lawrence and him 1 and 2, regardless of who was at the top of the draft. I still will not understand why that happened. Best explanation I can give is white guys. That's the only explanation I can give, is that they got infatuated with the white statue pocket passer guys. Whatever. Like,
well, that's not who Zach Wilson is. He's not a statue pocket passer.
No, I know.
He's elusive. He gets out on the edges. The problem is, in college, he was at least completing passes. He can't even do that at an effective level in the pros.
Fine, then just white guys. They wanted white guys over Justin Fields. But basically,
come on now. You have to show me the receipts if you're going to say that.
I have no evidence other than 40 years of them not letting black quarterbacks play quarterback.
Okay, but the best quarterbacks in the league right now are black.
Point being, I'm not going to get bogged down in the weeds. Like, point being that the Zach Wilson versus Mike White circumstances, that Zach Wilson played really bad and they really don't like him, it would appear, with the Jets. So switching to Mike White is not a long-term option, but in the short term, yeah, probably his team for the next, 5 weeks, and maybe one playoff game where they get smoked by a superior opponent. Like, yeah, give it to Mike White. Defense is really good.
You have Mike White cheap, So you probably could, let's say he performs well, because one thing I know about the Shanahans and the LaFleurs and the Jets, they have a LaFleur as their offensive coordinator. They just like guys that can execute their offense effectively. And it seems like Mike White knows how to listen and can execute the offense. Just do what they're asking you to do. Follow the playbook, follow the game plan, and you'll get a lot of wins in the NFL. That's what I kind of like more or less have come to learn about the McDaniels, the LaFleurs, the McVays, the Shanahans. That's all they're asking their quarterback to do. Zach Wilson wasn't able to do that. Zach Wilson couldn't do that for whatever reason. His own shortcomings, was he liked by his teammates, whatever it may be, Zach Wilson wasn't able to effectively do it. And Mike White can. So he's at least got the rest of the season. You look at the images of Zach Wilson just on the sidelines with the hoodie over him. He's done. He's cooked. I don't think the stadium was chanting Mike White. I think that you're doomed at that point.
No,
if Zach Wilson,
like
your future with the Jets ended there. I just don't see how they could possibly even have him suit up the rest of the season.
No, it didn't end there, because there's always the possibility of Mike White throwing 4 picks in a game. Like, that's always a possibility.
I don't even think that they would do that then. I think that even if that happened, we're at the point where they might legitimately suit up Joe Flacco instead of Zach Wilson.
Okay, that was the only circumstance I was saying. I was like, you might see Zach Wilson again because they bench Mike White. But no, Zach Wilson's not going to be on the team next year. I feel
injuries are the only real reason I could see that happening.
It was really a semantics joke I was making, because our broader point is correct. Like, we both don't think Zach Wilson's going to be on the Jets after this season, unless something circumstantially changes dramatically. Like either a coaching switch, or LaFleur goes to take the Cardinals job. Like, unless something circumstantially changes, Zach Wilson, based on the trajectory they're moving, is not going to be the New York Jets quarterback or backup quarterback going forward. Because I would articulate, like, Zach Wilson's only making like $7 million, which is like high-end backup money. Like, I would articulate keeping him if the locker room didn't hate him. But if the locker room hates him, then kind of would be better off just cutting your losses and moving on.
And very publicly. I mean, Elijah Moore, his Instagram, he's not really holding back. He's making it very known.
Dude, did you see how excited? Did you see how excited Elijah Moore was when he caught that touchdown from Mike White? Like, dude, I don't think I've been that happy about anything the last like 6 months of my life. Like, the outburst of emotion from Elijah Moore when he scored that touchdown was wild.
Yeah, and going back into the game for a little bit here. So some things to kind of monitor. Christian Darrisaw, he's on the injury report, probably going to miss this game. He had a head injury. And this Jets defense, it is as good as advertised. You're starting to see that they have some real dudes on this roster. Their main shortcoming, again, has been the quarterback. You could compare it a lot in similar ways to what we had a conversation with Denver in an earlier segment. But at least with Mike White, he's performing better than Russell Wilson. A lot of quarterbacks are performing better than Russell Wilson. The only quarterback who wasn't was Zach Wilson. And now that doesn't seem to be a problem for them. So now we're starting to see the best version of what the Jets can be. They also have injuries at the running back position. Obviously, we know what they lost at Breece Hall earlier in the season, but Michael Carter also was injured this past week. So insert Ty Johnson. They traded for James Robinson a few weeks ago before the deadline, and he was a healthy scratch this past week. So I don't know if we're going to see him as a active on game day this coming week. They have talent at the wide receiver position. Corey Davis is finally healthy. Mix him in with Elijah Moore. And then their talented rookie, of course, Garrett Wilson. They have a really solid foundation of guys offensively. I think that they're going to be able to put some pressure on Kirk Cousins with that defense, especially with the injuries on the offensive line. And I think the Jets are trending in the right direction. I just worry that the Skull environment, Minnesota, is going to be a tough road atmosphere for them.
This is the interesting part of it, because usually I say in these types of coin flip matchups, and this is a classic coin flip matchup. You said it's a 3-point Minnesota line, and I believe you said the game's in Minnesota. So, if you believe the old saying of 3 points swinging the spread, this is a true coin flip game. And the thing I point to in those circumstances are, I think the best unit on the field is the Jets defense. I mean, if you take the 4 units, Vikings offense, defense, Jets offense, defense, I think Jets defense is the best unit on the field. And it's a weird game. It's weird circumstances. You don't know who's going to be there for both teams at this point. And betting on Mike White is difficult, but you know what? This feels like a circumstance right for the Jets to pull the small upset, shall we say, and get a victory against Minnesota. Because again, I think the Jets defense is the best unit on the field, but also the Vikings have a unit in Justin Jefferson that absolutely transforms entire football games. And he's the best receiver I think I've seen since like prime Antonio Brown, basically. So
careful there with a prime Antonio Brown, hopefully not the same trajectory.
Maybe, okay, fine. Prime DeAndre Hopkins, like the best receiver of a generation is what we're talking about.
Boy.
With
hopefully
Justin
not
Jefferson.
that trajectory either.
Whatever. Like, point being, I didn't want to say Odell. Point being, the New York,
even that one.
No, but I'm saying Odell's not as good as Antonio Brown or DeAndre Hopkins in his prime.
Can we always give him someone who had a longer career that doesn't have the off the field issues? Can we give him like, I don't know, Calvin Johnson? Because he's
sure, that's a good
type
comp,
of attention.
Actually. That's a good comp. I mean, Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the NFL, and sure, like Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the NFL, and there's no dispute. Like he is by far the best, not by far, but he is the best wide receiver in the NFL. So like maybe he's a singular unit that transforms the game. I don't know. Kirk Cousins has been a true tier 3 quarterback this season. That's just, if you're looking at the raw statistics, Kirk Cousins is the Kirk Cousins he's been, which is tier 3 quarterback 13. That is Kirk Cousins, baby. And in a season where there's only like 6 good quarterbacks in the NFL, it looks worse than most seasons. So I don't know. I would assume that the Jets defense will be the best unit on the field. They've been excellent this season, top 10 defensive unit in the sport. And it's been the big reason why they're sitting with a nice little 6-4, 7-4, 6-4 or 7-4 record for the Jets at this point. So they're sitting in one of those wild card positions. I don't know if they'll hold it or not. I think the Chargers will make a late charge, but I mean, victory here goes a long way for those Jets. And I feel like they might pull off the win against Minnesota.
Now, I'm going to say something that's going to kind of side with you, but then I'm going to go in the opposite direction, because I will say that if Sauce Gardner is able to shut down the one difference maker you're talking about, that is Justin Jefferson, then that bodes very well for the New York Jets winning this game. I think I'm going to go with the Vikings, only because obviously a team coming off a big emotional win with the backup quarterback. We've seen this happen a lot of times in the NFL. It calls for regression the following week. Add in the fact that Minnesota hasn't had to play since Thursday. I think the mini bye is just what the doctor ordered to kind of help them figure out some things and kind of get right. So I think that could have come at a better time for Minnesota themselves. Anyway, I think I'm going with the Vikings. I think that they defend home here. I think this is going to be a very good game to see on Sunday. I think this is obviously the prime time window to see Kirk Cousins. So if we want to see the best of him, it will be early on a Sunday. So that all the strategy I need.
The one thing I can confirm, one of these teams will be down 6, no timeouts, 1 minute to play, needing to go the length of the field. Might be Kirk Cousins in the lead, might be Kirk Cousins trailing, but one of these teams will be down 6, 1 timeout, length of the field, and that 1 minute, no timeouts.
All right, guys. Well, let us know below in the comments section your prediction, whether it's the Jets or the Vikings. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all our social media accounts. From Juju, from Kyle, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you on the next one.